The climate crisis, a topic with many views. The drop in temperature, the rise in temperature, rising sea levels, and polluted atmosphere. The Earth is what we call home, and yet here we are slowly destroying it. This video will go over some of the effects of climate change, and how we can look into ways to slow it down or even stop it drastically. I am Cameron Dedman, and I hope this video helps highlight the issues of climate change. This is my new Unit 1 video. With things like these, it's important to understand the basics before moving into the bigger picture. So with that in mind, what is climate change? Well, climate change is the long-term effects of the weather and temperature. With temperatures reaching 40 degrees, and temperatures reaching as low as -5. Whether there's snow on the ground as seen here. We're in Hastings, a small town just off the coast, near the English Channel. And it never snows here. All we get is like the hail and all that stuff, but we never get snow. Or if that's actually trampolines flying away with high wind speeds. Climate change has always been here. Ever since trees sprouted from the ground, to the rain falling down on them. We can see that with events such as ice ages. This has kept a steady pace, with changing climates coming and going every millennium, with ice ages happening evenly through history. However, ever since humans, this kept changing. As recent as the 19th century, with the Industrial Revolution, the climate has kept changing. More factories are being built to produce new equipment and new technology for our everyday habits. These factories back then would have used coal as their primary resource and fuel, and with that, components of compound gases are being pumped into the atmosphere. The impact of this is the warming or cooling of our planet. We can take mankind events such as World War II, for example, which actually helped cool down the planet by 0.2 degrees. However, this began to change during the early 70s due to the Cold War reaching its height, along with the rapid change of cultures around the world. Ever since this time, the planet has slowly been rising in terms of temperature, about 0.15 degrees every year. But you may ask, Cameron, it's only 1 or so degrees, what's the big deal? Well, I have a valid point I want to highlight. The polar ice caps. The ice caps are melting, causing sea levels to rise that can cause major problems to our lives. Not only will coastal areas be heavily affected, but the bigger picture is even worse. Mass movements of people moving inland, less areas to live in, historical buildings and landmarks being totally wiped out. According to NASA, 9% of polar ice is lost every 10 years. And the Environmental Protection Agency has reported that the average sea level in the past 100 years has risen by around 6 to 8 inches. Below the ice is the unknown, yet known on the surface. Here we are, slowly destroying entire habitats for animals like polar bears and penguins. It's then no secret that the polar ice caps are a prime target of conversation for this topic. Its rate of melting is in our control, yet if we don't act fast, the consequences are not in our favour. Many YouTube channels have already covered this topic, along with many films that like to be Hollywood and make it extreme, but it's rather close to reality. One YouTuber I want to point out is Real Life Lore. This channel made a video back on the 28th of July 2017 titled How will Earth change if all the ice melts?
The British Isles would become more of an archipelago, and London would be totally buried beneath the sea.
This video is a good watch for more information, but he talks about the impact of the melting ice on the ice caps, such as Greenland and Antarctica. So we are aware of the situation. So how much ice has melted? Well, let's compare the amounts of ice melted in 2019 and 2020. The reason for this is because of the amount of people that stayed at home for reasons we all know. In 2019, 532 billion tons of ice melted from Greenland alone, which completely thrashed its previous record back in 2012, which was 464 billion tons. In 2020, 3.74 million kilometers was lost in the Arctic Sea, which is its second smallest area on record since 1979. The reason for this change is because of the higher need for power in homes. The need to stay at home saw people needing more power, which made the demand for power to increase. This obviously increases the amount of compound gases we are sending into the sky, which helps in warming up the planet. The pandemic was indeed a terrible time for us, but at the same time, it was bad for the animals whose chunk of ice they called home gets taken away from them. The polar ice caps are important for the future, as not only are they habitats to already endangered species of unique animals not found anywhere else, but millions of lives live on the coast. The immediate problems that we as a species will face is going to be a big challenge if we melt the polar ice caps. I'm not sure if we can actually get far when our world leaders talk about sausage rolls,
vegan sausage rolls,
or trip up some stairs. Okay, jokes aside, we've talked about one problem of climate change, so let's look at the other, the extreme heat. The heat is not something we can't look over. The Earth is warming up, and at an alarming rate. As mentioned earlier, the planet has slowly become a hotter and hotter place. So we need to start with understanding what is causing it. Like I said plenty of times in this video already, large amounts of compound gases are being pumped into the atmosphere. Our poor choices of fuel and the sun, well, we can't control that one really. However, with the ones we can control, we can stop the rising heat, or at least prevent it from rising at an alarming rate. Switching to a more eco-friendly fuel source like tidal and going electric can prevent it. Tidal energy is a renewable energy source that does not emit components of compound gases. This is one way we can prevent rising temperatures, as less compound gases are trapping the sun rays, which allows for a cooler Earth. Going electric can be another option, as it will no longer require petrol and diesel to power. These are let out with the exhaust of a car, which contributes to warming the planet. The change to go eco-friendly is plausible, as more car companies are starting to manufacture hybrid and electric cars. As for Tidal, the main downside is the costs, as it costs quite a lot of money to build, the power stations and all that stuff. We have talked about how we can stop the rising temperatures. Let's look at the current situation. The top 10 hottest years in the UK have all been since 2002, the hottest being 2014, however 22 might take that record, we won't know until 2023. This is saying something, since the past 20 years has been so different than any other century. We are in a new age, with the advantages of higher quality tech and machinery compared to our 1970 counterparts. Thank you very much for watching this video on climate change, some of the effects of climate change, and looking at ways of how we can prevent climate change. But I hope you guys have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.